Well, got Bluey's back. I didn't get the ones back that I left at my butt. I don't know where I left them. They're gone. But I did come home last night. I told everybody in a video the other night that I was sneaking home. Somebody said, well, why do you have to sneak home? It's a figure of speech. I'm sneaking home. At the time, I'm sneaking home because, you know, everybody looks at you like you're a leper if you come from the States into Canada. And when I got to the border the other night, I had told the border agent, the guard there, I said, you know, I work on both sides of the border. And I told you guys this last week. Billy Davis had got an exemption where he doesn't have to quarantine when he comes back into Canada. Now, let me just set the table. If you're a trucker, you don't have to quarantine. If you're shipping medical goods or you're in the medical field, you don't have to quarantine. And also on the exemption list, it says, quite black and white, it says, if you work on both sides of the border frequently, you're exempt. You don't have to quarantine. So, but you can't really, there's nobody you can really get an interview with, or, you know, they say, oh, send an email off. You're going to send the email to the Canadian government. So the first time I quarantined, they called to make sure I wasn't home, which I was. I was at home. And I'd ask the person on the phone, you know, how do I get an exemption? Or is there an application? Can I apply for it? No, you send this email off to this address and they'll get back to you. I said, the Canadian government's going to get back to me, are they? I said, the border will be open before the Canadian government gives it. Oh, no, they'll get back to you. Yeah, that was 3 weeks ago. I sent an email off. I had a politician that I knew send an email off for me. Just trying to grease the wheels or get a response, you know, anything. Hey, no, you're not allowed. Hey, no problem, you're exempt. Anything. No response from anybody. So I knew that Billy Davis had come back through Queenston Lewison the other day. Went to the border gate, and the guy told him he was exempt because he works on both sides. So I pull up to the same gate Friday night after the races at Northfield. I get there at 12:30 at night. Gentleman was very nice, and I said, a colleague of mine come through that races horses also, and he was given an exemption for the quarantine. He said, on what grounds? I said, well, he and I both race horses on both sides of the border. I have a stable in Ontario and a stable of horses in Ohio. We race all over North America. And I told him the truth. I've been to Pennsylvania, I've been to Ohio, I'm in Ohio, and I've been to Indiana in the last 5 days. I said, I'm safe. I wear my mask wherever I go if I'm in public, and I keep to myself. You know, I said, I get a wife and 3 kids, and I told everybody this, and I don't mean it bluntly or arrogantly. I'm not worried about me getting COVID-19, not in the least, but I am worried about passing it on to somebody else, and that's really what everybody should be worried about. You know, I think deep down everybody's retraced their steps since March, and they all believe they've already had COVID-19. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But I am worried about passing it on to somebody, God forbid. I was at the barn today. I trained, I'll start with this. I trained White Tiger, he trained great. I trained Spirit of Dio, she trained great. And I trained Johan, little bully, but he trained great. I come off the track, and there's 5 elderly people that own horses with us in Harry Polton's barn. Now, I had just come off the track, so I don't have my mask on. So they're like, oh, Anthony, and they went to come over. I'm like, hey, just hold on there. I said, you know, everybody's sake, you should keep your distance. I do. I don't have to quarantine, but that still means I have to be safe. So my mask is in shed row 12. This is shed row 10. I said, I'm glad you're here. I'm happy to see everybody here. They had gloves on and masks on. Just very, very nice people, clients of ours. And they said, oh, I understand. So I did it. There was a horseman, a good friend of ours, that was pretty upset that I was back at the barn. He's got pre-existing conditions, so obviously it was a tense. It wasn't a situation. I felt bad for him. Very, very nice man. And, you know, I think as a society, and this is what I'd written an email to Woodbine and said, as a society, I think we have to get past the stigmas that we've built, right? We all know the vaccine isn't coming anytime soon. What, January? Maybe December, maybe not. You're going to have people in society that refuse to get a vaccine. You know the people. No vaccine. I'll be the first one in line if you want me to. But you know who the people are all throughout society that refuse to get a vaccine. So you're always going to have that component in society, right? The no, I don't want vaccine people. The people that haven't got a vaccine yet. So realistically, these masks are probably here for a while. We don't like that, Nobody really wants that. And I was having a discussion today with somebody. Somebody said, it wasn't until the other day that I understand now the dynamics of society in the United States as opposed to Canada. And I summed it up as well as I could to the person I was talking to. I said, in Canada, we're told to wear a mask. We ask what colors they come in. In the States, you're told to wear a mask, and the first thing you do is say, no, I don't think so. And the guy said, well, yeah. He said, listen, if you own a business and you put on your door, I can't come in unless I have a mask, fine, it's your business. I either won't come in or I'll wear my mask. But the government's not going to tell me when to wear a mask. I just looked at him. I said, okay, you could die, right? So was it worth that? Because, ultimately, here's how it is. There's no vaccine, right? There's no guaranteed silver bullet treatment. None. There's still thousands and thousands of people on ventilators. So you have to be careful, right? And I think when you look at Canada, you can say, oh, there's less people and it's a bigger space. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, but it's also what the people are doing. When you see the clusters of people and who's ending up in the hospital now, younger people, why? As soon as you let someone say outside the house, yeah, wear your mask. Yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot it on the kitchen table, or don't worry about it, or me and my 6 buddies are going down to the park. These are the things that, the matter-of-fact way that people approach this virus is the reason that it's still strong in some places. And I think one way or another we will get to a point where it's less important to our day-to-day life. But that time is further down the road, right? So I understand the friction, if you will. I showed up at the barn today. Even people that worked for us, were like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I got an exemption. I'm going to train some horses today." I had messaged a couple of our caretakers and our trainers to say I'd be there and I'd like to go with this horse, this horse, this horse. The 3 that I mentioned especially. And there is tension. These are people that know how important my safety is and their safety is, and how important at what kind of a serious level I put that on. And they're still a little concerned. And then you get the gentleman with the pre-existing condition who's very upset. And you're going to get that in society, right? But as the border starts to open up, and it will at some point, you can say it might not open up until next year. Fine, it will though. You're still going to get people very, very skittish about moving forward. And this is a virus that we've done very well containing for the most part. Not in some places, and I don't want to get into that, why some places aren't and some places are. But the serious level, the seriousness that we put upon this virus right here in Canada especially is the reason that it's contained, mostly not because of population or anything else, but because of the way people approach it. So enough of that. I got the exemption. I don't have to quarantine when I come into Canada. Will that lead to driving in Canada without quarantining? I know there's something being put in place. The one thing about Woodbine, they've been way ahead of everything. They've been so on top of everything. And I did send an email off to Woodbine, and I know there's some framework put in place, but it still has to be drafted and agreed upon. The frustrating part is, once I went through the border, no quarantine exemption. Billy Davis went through the border for 5 weeks, no quarantine exemption. And then all of a sudden we both go through the border in the same week and we're exempt. And that's great for my family, for me being able to operate and come home and enjoy my time. Mostly, I would have enjoyed my time anyway. But, to get to the border at 1 o'clock in the morning, tired after racing, and be told that you don't have to quarantine for the next 2 days when you're home with your family is like Christmas. And we've taken full advantage of it today. We went to the barn, we relaxed at home for a little while, now we're at the park, and Amy, probably a little miffed that I'm doing these videos in the car when they're in the park, but I can see the kids in the rearview mirror. They're just playing. Amy's watching them. They're playing on the whatever you call it, jungle gym thing. So what I'm getting at, I guess, ultimately is I'm home for a couple of days. I'm very, very happy to be here. I am happy to get back to work. Pretty hard not to be happy to get back to work with the run we've had the last 2 weeks. I just finished watching Mario win with First Glance. Again, we did it right, and I've said this from day one. First Glance was sick. We didn't race him. Everybody said, where's First Glance? Where's First Glance? Well, First Glance is in to go. Somebody actually called me on it and said, Anthony, the horse in to go. You said he was sick. Well, he was. but he's getting over it. Again, here's a horse that hadn't trained very hard in 28 days and went out and went in 55 over Kawartha and looked real good doing it. Mario drove him good, but he looked great. Inland Beach was third in 57. I thought she should have won, but again, she's coming off the virus also. Mario said she was really, really sick for 2 weeks, so we'll give her a pass. She was third, beat 3/4 of a length in 57, raced well. First glance, just jogged in 55 and looked really, really good. As I said, the run that we've been on, it's, you guys have no idea when you're in a stable and you're not having a good run, when things just don't go right, the horses draw bad, they're sick, you can't put them in a good position, then I start to lose my confidence. You make mistakes, it just snowballs into this unbelievably depressing place. And you guys know because you own the horses, but to be the people caring for the horses, putting them on the track and then driving them, it is beyond demoralizing. It is frustrating. It's just like you're walking uphill every day and there's no end to it. And to have the horses race the way they did the last 2 weeks was just, to say a weight was lifted off me, especially last night with I'm a Lovely Lady, you can't put that into words. That is a gross mischaracterization of the situation. I'm a Lovely Lady. You guys knew, you know me good enough by now, most of you. You know how I talk and how I feel. I did not know how the I'm a Lovely Lady situation would play out. This is how tough this filly is. Shipped her down to Scioto Downs. It rained all night. 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe 3 hours in the horse, truck, and trailer down to Scioto. She makes a break coming out of the first turn. I'm a little hard on her finishing up her mile. I'm pissed off. She finishes up her mile. We bath her off. Ship her 3 hours back to Northfield. She might get back 2:30 in the morning. She gets her breakfast in the morning. Maybe a little supper, but probably didn't eat much of it. It's her breakfast in the morning. We're going to take her to Bowling Green to get the hobbles on her. This is the only way on God's green earth that we can get the hobbles on I'm a Lovely Lady, is to take her to Bowling Green. It's the only way. There's no qualifiers. There's nothing that will work. We have to take her to Bowling Green if we want to wear the hobbles on her. Ship her 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's hot. We get to Bowling Green. I warm her up. The track is that deep. They listed it off 2 seconds. It could have been off 9 seconds.
Can you pass me a water?
I don't know if yeah, I have one here, bud.
Thank you.
No problem, buckaroo. Warm her up. The track's terrible. It's okay. It's just a training track. Go out, and I even say to myself, I'm just going to sit last and go around with her. But I'm sitting last, and she's throwing her head, because she's competitive. She wants to get at it. So I move her over. I end up 3 wide down the backstretch. Had to kick the earplugs coming out of the turn because she was going to blow the turn. She wins in 2:11. Okay, she won a race. Then we find out she draws the rail at Northfield. So I grass her at Bowling Green. We take our time. We go home. They run fluids into her for 2 days. Now I go to Northfield. I don't know how this filly's going to be. She went to Scioto. She went to Bowling Green 4 days apart. So combined shipping for those 2 days would be the better part of 12 hours. 12 hours. 3 hours to Columbus and back. This is a 6-hour round trip. 4 days later, 2:45 to Bowling Green and 2:45 back. Stop for gas, 6 hours. No problem. So 12 hours in a span of 4 days she's been on the truck. 1 day in the rain, 1 day in the heat. Now, thank God Northfield Park is where we are stabled. We race her. I warm her up. She feels great. Now, I took the toe weights off her at Bowling Green because the track was deep and it's too much weight for her. She needed that weight without the hobbles, but now the hobbles are on her. Popped the toe weights off her. Raced her. She wins. I said to Kirby in the winner circle, we're going to take those shoes off and put a set of full swedges on her. Very, very light shoes. So now we've made a significant equipment change. This is the first time she's ever wore hobbles in her life. Was Sunday jogging before Monday at Bowling Green. First time ever in her life. She wins with the hobbles on. Bring her back. Run fluids into her jogger for 3 days. I warm her up. We change all her shoes around on Thursday morning for Friday's race. So she shipped 12 hours. This is going to be her third start in 8 days. She shipped 12 hours in those 8 days. She's had hobbles put on her equipment, which she's never wore before. All of the weight taken off her front end, and now she wears, for those of you that are horsemen out there, she wore a 5/8 shoe trotting shoe, which is plenty heavy, and a 2-ounce trotting with 2-ounce toe weight on her front end. She went from 5/8 in a toe weight to a full swedge shoe on Thursday morning, and that's what she raced in last night. 4 full swedges. So I score her down. She feels great. We're going in behind the gate. The 2 horses obviously going to leave. Obviously going to leave. If I say to myself, if you blast her out of there and she makes a break in the first turn, you're going to go to bed some angry. So I had to be easy going into the turn. Had I known after the race how well she would trot with the hobbles on, I'm in the 2-hole behind the 5 horse. And between you and me, I could be wrong, and it doesn't matter. None of us have a time machine. I think I beat him. Maybe, maybe not. He won with the earplugs in. I finished second with the earplugs in. I never get out till the head of the lane. And they said, well, last quarter in 29-2. Just go time the last 8th. It was 27-second speed. 100% for sure. She got backed up behind Aaron the whole way through the first part of the last quarter. And then I get out. And then that last 8, she sprinted. Doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. It is for points. It's kind of important. But she raced unbelievably. Now, there was reports it was a world record. I think it was a world record, but it was definitely a track record on a half-mile track. It doesn't really matter what it was. She was second. Nobody remembers who was second in anything after a while. So, I'm a Lovely Lady just showed how tough she was. 12 hours in the trailer in 8 days. 3 trips in 8 days. And then to finish up the way she did with the earplugs, never even pulled out of her ears the other night. She is some kind of nice filly. My Jazz, you know who she reminds me of? And you can't deny it. Yes. She reminds me of Yes because she always seems to catch an easier division. She always seems to beat up horses, make breaks that are in the race, and you know she was going to win anyway. And Jason said to me after, because we know My Jazz wasn't comfortable on the front end in Scioto, but I wanted to put Mike's horse in a bad place. I wanted to stuff him in the 2-hole. I wanted to get a cheap second quarter, and I want to see what he'd do with it. And he run. That's my job. So My Jazz just manhandled the field. She's getting some kind of confidence now. She's getting cocky. You know, she'd come back to the winner's circle, throwing her head. You know, she thinks she's the best horse in the world now. So she's going to get her chance. At some point, she's going to get in with one of them Bearcats. But My Jazz was listen, My Jazz got $51,000 made. And I don't talk about money, returns, or anything anytime. Only just to say how good she's been. If you would have asked Amy, she was our 5th best filly. She was our 5th best Ohio-bred trotting filly all year long. Maybe 4th on a good day, maybe 3rd, if you liked her a lot, but never 1st or 2nd. And she was so good the other night. It was incredible. Mama Knows Best, I near lost her leaving the gate. If you watch close, go back and watch the replay. Coming out of the gate, I almost lost her. She trotted well the rest of the mile, and I'd said to Kirby, you know, we got 3 weeks till the next stake race. I might put the hobbles on her and see how she trains in them. Little rolly in the turns. I don't know if the hobbles will help that or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think what you'll probably see is she's sitting 13th now. She's almost guaranteed a bye she's almost guaranteed a spot in the consolation that goes for $75,000. To me, it would make much more sense to race Mama Knows Best in the next 2 Buckeyes. Hope that she makes the final of the Buckeye, which is $75,000, and then race in the Sire Stakes final consolation, $75,000. That would make more sense to me. That's what we're aiming for with her, I believe, in the coming weeks. You know, we had so many horses that trained well and did well. I just told you I watched First Glance race. Mario drove him great. He looked fantastic at Kawartha Downs. Inland Beach race good. These are the first wave of our Ontario horses coming back, the same way you saw those Ohio horses and Pennsylvania horses come back. Globe Trotting, I trained her in 58 with a bow in her neck on Friday morning before we raced and left. She looked great. She's going to Columbus next Friday night. She perfect? No, but she's getting there. Every week she looks better and better and better. I was very, very happy with Globetrotting on Friday morning. Spend that money coming off 2 wins. She went from a ton of weight to aluminum shoes up front this week. We entered her at the Meadows. She didn't get in. So we're going to qualify Compass Rose DC, who has 2 breaks anyway, so she should qualify. She can still race with a flat line in 45 days in a stake race, so there's no problem there for her next for the Buckeye. She's going to spend that money. We're just going to like to get them out. I'd love to get them out 57 over at Northfield and to spend that money on Thursday. That's what I would like to do. We'll see how they go. Rooney Blue Chip is back in Ohio. Now, no, it's not a perfect situation. His knees are bothering him quite a bit. He's got a rough set of knees on him. I trained him a slow mile when he got back. He seemed okay. They are hurting him. There's a pool right beside our barn. Literally, the next barn over has a giant pool in it. So he's been swimming. He's going to continue to swim. Is he going to get around a half? Never has well in his life. But I can't go to the Meadows on Thursday. I have to qualify Compass Rose DC and spend that money. And I certainly can't trust anybody else to go with him. So we may try and sneak him through. Maybe 2-2, 2-1 at Northfield. That might be okay. But we'll see. We'll see. The situation with Rooney Blue Chip's always fluid. You know, he's just one of those horses that I've always protected because he's a gorgeous, beautiful trotter. He's got a great gait. He's got lots to offer, but his knees do bother him. So we're working on Rooney Blue Chip to get him qualified on Thursday. As I said, spend that money, Compass Rose will. And then last week, the week we had in Pennsylvania was great. Also, West 52nd won the other day in a very un-West 52nd like mile. 3 wide, 4 wide, closing in, drove by them and won. I would say an unlikely win, but nevertheless, looked extremely well in doing it. Sebastian Yu, for all of you guys that were waiting with me on Sebastian Yu, the horse we were trying to turn him into showed up the other day. Yeah, it was a condition claimer. Go watch the next race, the Nalmerser 3. I would have won the Nalmerser 3 with him also, and the Nalmerser 2. So Sebastian Yu, tricky, still very, very unsure of himself, but the speed has always been there. He looked great. He looked great the other day training. So we're going to try and continue to build on that. Little tricky. I guess little is unfair. He's a lot tricky. But when he's doing it right, he's still a really nice horse to be around. Then you look at a horse like Miss Meringue. Talk about building confidence. Here's a filly that, now, take it for what it is. I'm a Lovely Lady went in 2:11 off a half and 6. Miss Meringue won in 2:10, wrapped up by 10 lengths with the earplugs in. So it's very hard to extrapolate time on a bad track and how some horses get over it and others don't. But Miss Meringue, I'm really interested to see how she's going to do in Urbana. Now, Urbana is a fair, but it is not a fair race this week. This is a Buckeye event for all our horses on Tuesday. Miss Meringue, I'm very interested to see how she's going to do. She's brimming with confidence and coming in sharp. Really interested to see how she's going to handle Urbana on Tuesday. Well and Down coming off a huge victory at the fair. And then again, an even bigger victory in her first Buckeye. She's in a 5 or 6 horse field at Urbana again on Tuesday also. Path of Totality. Want to talk about horses that are coming into their own. Here's a filly that was robbed. How was she robbed? They don't generally set track records in grassroots Stallion Series Buckeye events. You know, these are usually relegated to stake horses and Grand Circuit events that come to the track, not mid-level sire stake events. Path of Totality whacked out the mile, trotted her own mile 155, which should have been enough to win any Stallion Series to begin with. Only that race went in 152-2. So, Dune Hill won that. She was in the Meadowlands today. I didn't get to see the race, but I'll go back and watch that. Path of Totality's got the Stallion Series again this week at the Meadows. So does Harness AM. She raced good. She could have shown a little more grit and determination and got the victory the other day, but raced well and finished 3rd. GW Chrome trained great the other day. We're just talking about horses that are racing this week and coming in sharp. GW Chrome finished 5th, but did it good the other day at Scioto. I trained him by himself Friday morning, right before I went with Globetrotting. 2-2 last half and 58 last quarter and 28-2. He was very, very good, and we schooled Desperado in 59. He was very good also. So, you know, I can't reiterate enough. I cannot reiterate enough how pleased I am with the fact that we ended up with a lot of sick horses. We did it right, and we're now being rewarded. We've had probably 2 of the best weeks in recent memory south of the border, and I think if that's any indication, when you look at tonight, when you look at First Glance and Inland Beach, how well they raced at Kawartha Downs, I'm hoping to see that transition from the way we did it in Ohio and it worked out so well in Pennsylvania and the horses are racing so good to now in Ontario. And the Indiana horses were sick when they got there. Now, That's My Girl wasn't sick the other night. She raced good. I raced her hard, but I felt that I had to race her hard that night, and I did. So she's in to go Tuesday. Italian Grit made his first start. He was sick for 3 weeks. He was 6th the other day. I think he's racing this week. And also Fox Valley Britska is also going to race this week. Doug's going to go with them. Doug's got a really good head and his shoulders. Great old horseman. Does a great job. Very happy with what he's done with the horses in Indiana. And I can't get there this week. I have to be in Urbana with Well and Down and those horses. And then Wednesday I have GW Chrome and the Meadows. I just simply can't get to Indiana this week, but I'll get there next week. So very pleased with what went on south of the border, what's going on south of the border, how the horses are racing, and how the horses are fitting into these classes. I'm just so pleased. You have no idea how frustrating it was for me for 2 or 3 weeks, and for Jason and everybody that worked at the stable, and to see the horses bounce back and be so good right now. It's just probably the most gratifying feeling that I've gone through in quite a while. So between that, being able to be home with my family for the weekend and just relax, it's just couldn't ask for a better 2 weeks, especially given the state of the world right now. Just a great feeling. So thanks everybody out there for the emails all week about the horses, about everything. Again, the people that knew I was home, about the well wishes and have fun with your family. I am, and I will. I did take 26 minutes off to do this video with you, and I'll probably get the rest done Sunday morning while the kids are still sleeping, and get that done. Monday morning, 7 a.m., I'm off to the Meadows, and it's back to the grind for me. Knowing that when I come back to Canada, it's a better time, certainly makes things easier. But back to work Monday morning. So I hope you guys had a great week. I don't know how you possibly couldn't have if you're part of stable.ca. I know if you have horse in Ontario, the adrenaline rushes, the brilliant corners, the no free lunch. I know those horses trained. We'll talk about that in a little while. No free lunch trained today, slow. Coughed a little bit, but I think that's the end of the virus. 2 things happen and can happen. Cough a little bit, then they get over it and they're fine. Sometimes they spike that last, it seems like the last hurrah. The thing that cost Tanzanite Tricks her race the other night. We drew her blood on race day. Everybody in the Kevin McMaster barn said this filly was perfect all day. Ate her lunch, no temperature, no coughing. Trained good in the week, seemed awesome. Pulled her blood. Her white count was at least twice what it should have been. So we had to scratch her. That happened with War We Welcome the week before. So I think that's the last hurrah of this virus, so to speak. So before we go any fast miles, we'll draw blood to make sure that those white counts aren't elevated. The no free lunches. Brilliant Corners trained good. Every horse trained today. I got there and watched Braemar train. He trained great. Nancy Allison even trained great. Everything is going to Mohawk on Wednesday. I'm not going to be here, but for Steve, my man, who usually gets, Steve Palermo usually is the guy who gets all our spots on the Wednesday trainings. He wasn't around last week. I had somebody else to do it, but I will be needing Steve. I'll be reaching out to him this week. I'm going to bet 20 spots on Wednesday. It's going to be a long day in Canada, but hopefully step 1 to getting our horses back on the track and back to 100%. Here in Ontario, it worked all over the U.S. for our horses in the States, and it appears, after watching First Glance win tonight, first one back after the virus, so to speak, that took it hard. I'm very happy and eager to see these horses race this week. So again, hope you had a great week. Hope you had a great weekend. I know I had the best weekend maybe of 2020 right now. It all started with I'm a Lovely Lady and the culmination of hanging out with my family, and then it's back to the grind on Monday. Take care. I will talk to you guys soon. I'll be back in a little bit, probably not today, tomorrow, with the rest of the videos pertaining to the stables and the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds, and also the sales that are coming up. I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.